Hi everyone. So finally CMAT का result is out. So sir, I've selected the top 10 colleges and based on my score, मेरे को ये colleges लग रहा है. तो this list I made as per the ROI. Because ROI देखा जाता है हर जगह. And I'm sure आपने भी देखा होगा जब student आता है तो पहली चीज वही होता है कि job लगेगा क्या? Because मेरे को placement से मतलब.
Frequently asked question is what is the average placement? And the word average is very misleading. See, I'll tell you. While choosing any college for business institute, there are three parameters on which a business institute should be analyzed. So when we are audited, say, or we go for accreditation, we are also judged on these three qualities. The first thing is infrastructure. It's not, I mean, I'm not talking in, that this is first or this is second, but infrastructure plays a very important role. And when I mean infrastructure, it is not only the physical infrastructure, it is also the digital infrastructure. Now, in physical infrastructure, it doesn't mean that the building has to be posh or something, but the college has to be accessible for the student because he is going to be spending 10, 11 hours per day.
Correct.
And then he is going to go home and report back day in, day out. So it is the same parameter one would choose or one would rely on when one is going for a job. How far is my workplace? Because I have to go there daily and I'm going to be spending considerable amount of time. Is it accessible? By train and roads and all that. So,
sir, is location important? That important?
Location becomes important. It should be important, especially when a business. See what happens in any other business institute, which is a residential school. The question doesn't arise.
Right.
You are there, but the advantage is the student and the faculty interaction is much more cohesive because the student is accessible and the faculty is also accessible 24/7. But that is not the case. Then what is the next best thing? That the college should be accessible to the student.
Correct.
Right? Because there are going to be lectures, then presentations, then something, and it just goes on and on. It's like everyday corporate work life. That's what, and a lot of being said about work-life balance, so I won't go there.
Right.
So in the terms of that, infrastructure means that is it accessible and does it have it should have a good library, right? The digital infrastructure should be in place in terms of Wi-Fi and everything and e-resources, right? So this is the infrastructure part of it. The
हमारा main advantage we have is that location-wise,
we are like from anywhere, you say in the Harbour Line, the Western Line, the Central Line, it's there, right? So yeah, I mean, hey,
that's important. Of course, sir. किसी को अगर आना भी है, suppose you want to conduct the first lecture, कल को job भी लगेगा. So all point of view.
Bang on. So again, you are very right. So when I am going for corporate tie-ups, if my college is somewhere back and beyond where the corporate would like to visit, but he also has his own job.
Correct.
Right. So then it really becomes an advantage that I will come half an hour late, but I'll make it. Or maybe instead of 2 hours, I'll engage the students for 1.5 hours. But it happens.
Correct.
In some colleges, guest lectures do not happen. And, when you are talking about guest lectures, you are talking about mid-level to senior employees, who are taking out their very valuable time. They're getting paid a lot there is a lot of pressure. There is a lot of, everything is riding on their shoulders. Yet they choose to come and speak here is because of the accessibility. Because they know the importance of accessibility. The student should also realize. So that is one point.
Correct.
The second point, most important point, and one point which is totally neglected is the faculty. Who is the resource person? Who is going to deliver that subject? Correct. What is the experience of the faculty? Not only teaching experience. What is the corporate experience of that faculty? If he is going to teach us business management, has he handled any business or any area of business in his corporate avatar? That is very, very important. Because if it's not there, then pardon me, but it becomes an expensive BCom.
So एक और चीज है ना कि most of B schools are run, their admissions team is run by the salesmen, and they have no idea about what the college is going on.
No, maybe they have great idea about what the college is all about. But again, I come from a sales background. Everything in today's corporate world is about sales.
Sales too.
It will be about sales. That is how the world is and that is how it should be.
Correct.
But the problem is, when as a salesperson or a member of a marketing team, you have alienated from the institute and too much focus goes on selling, without adequate attention to the product which is being sold, which is intangible. ये जो एजुकेशन या सिलेबस या जो भी हम करते हैं वो इंटेंजिबल है. मैं आपको पंखा नहीं बेच रहा हूं कि आप डिस्काउंट मांगेंगे और मैं, ऐसा नहीं हो सकता. सो व्हेन इट इज एलियनेटेड, when they are not in sync, then it happens that they tend to overpromise something and they are out of the equation.
Correct.
At GNIMS, we cannot be out of the equation, because if I am telling you something, I am going to be teaching you some subjects in the classroom and I am going to be interacting with you for the next 2 years. For all you know, I might be one of your mentors. I might be a project in charge for you. I might be a subject resource in charge for you, so on and so forth. So I personally, see, what we are doing is we are not selling. We are making the student aware.
Correct.
Even when whatever that we are doing, we are saying be aware that this is. So even today what we are talking is, I am not telling them come to, GNMS has all this, or all. But what do you look for in an institute, any institute? Infrastructure, not only in terms of, you might have the best buildings.
Correct.
Which is 100 kilometers from Mumbai back and beyond. Makes no sense for a business school. Until and unless it's a residential school with the kind of reputation that can attract corporates.
Faculty and corporate both.
Even if the distance, then distance doesn't make, if it's an reputed institute. So these are things. Faculty. So lot of this thing goes in research, but a major factor is what is the corporate experience. The simple logic is, if you are going to teach us how to run a business, have you run any business? And if not, what right do you have to teach me how to run a business? So when somebody who has not even run a pawn shop enters the class to teach entrepreneurship management, there is a serious disconnect.
Theoretical knowledge, theoretical knowledge.
That is the main problem that students and even we as students had.
Correct, true, very true.
That is why we wanted to, they couldn't, hold our attention to us. So that's the faculty.
So is it advisable to go and check with the college or visit?
You go to the college, but if you are going to do a certain thing and fail and do it the same way every time, you are going to fail every time. Doesn't matter how many times. Somebody said, try and try till you succeed. Try in different ways till you succeed.
Correct.
You try in the same way, you are definitely going to fail and frustrate. Every time a student is coming and asking me, sir, what is the average placement? He doesn't have a question beyond that. I tell him that you have come from Thane or you have come from anywhere. Stay here. Spend half an hour. Look at the premises. Observe faculties. Observe students. Talk to the students. Right? Don't just go average placement. Right, average placement is already on my website.
On my website. True.
Right. So what is more? So when you talk to faculty, see, मैं आपको कब समझ पाता हूँ, जब मैं बात करना शुरू करता हूँ, तब आपको मुझे समझ में आता है, हाँ, कौन कितना पानी में है, इसको कितना पता है, इसका एटीट्यूड क्या है, ये ठीक से. एंड फैकल्टी का परम धर्म होता है कि स्टूडेंट को गाइड करना इन द बेस्ट पॉसिबल वे. I cannot refuse that. No faculty will refuse. So second is faculty.
And if you want to talk to the college, the best thing is to go to the canteen. आप कैंटीन में जाके बैठ जाओ, आपको पूरी असलियत बाहर आ जाएगी. सब
आ जाएगा. सर क्या हो रहा है अभी? कैंटीन has been replaced because of COVID and everything. This whole space has been replaced by a digital space.
Correct.
Where the students are talking. But even then, what is happening is that then the influencers step in. Then some semi influencers step in, and then the organic part of it gets lost.
True.
Are you understanding? So suddenly, if we are talking and I suddenly start advertising this tie, then the whole context goes out of place. The whole trust goes out of place. So go to the college, look at the infrastructure, talk to as many faculties as possible.
Student, faculty.
Counseling session is for the student. But what happens is that we end up talking to the student. The student does not ask questions.
Correct.
See, if I am going to buy a television, I am going to ask 12 questions. So, going to spend 6 lakhs, 7 lakhs, 8 lakhs, whatever the fee, and you are going to spend 2 years of your life in this institute, you should have 200 questions.
True, very true.
So that is where, that is where the student has to be trained. So that is so we spoke about infrastructure, faculty.
The third point.
The third part is, of course, placement. But one thing is that placement is the end result of all this. It doesn't exist in silos.
Correct.
See, what happens, I'll tell you the psychology of the student, and he is not to be blamed for it. This is the first time he is spending this kind of money on education. You understand? Out there in the West, the undergrad education is equally expensive, right? So when he spends this kind of a money, suddenly he starts imagining himself as a customer. And because he has read somewhere that the customer is always right, he starts thinking that he is always right. And then he starts demanding things. That because I have paid this much, now I am coming to the ROI point of view. Because I have paid this much, I should get a placement of this much. So that sensitization has to happen. Like for example, you join the costliest, most expensive gym in Mumbai. And then if you make an argument that it was very costly, so weight loss should happen automatically, or your goal should, that cannot happen. The money that you are paying is to access the resources. And that is where your ROI comes into picture.
Correct.
आपका ROI तब होगा जब हमारे पास रिसोर्सेस है, उसको आप कितना एक्सेस करते हैं और उसको कितना आप ये करते हैं, तो उसमें इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है. अगर आप 5 बजे निकल ही जाने का सोच रहे हैं तो मेरा बढ़िया इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर आपके काम का नहीं है. मैंने इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर इसलिए बनाया है ताकि आपको 8 बजे तक आप सुविधा से काम कर सके. हमारा फैकल्टी अगर है और उससे आप बात ही नहीं कर रहे ना, फैकल्टी अगेन कैनॉट गो टू ईच एंड एवरी स्टूडेंट. क्या है मसला भाई? इट डजंट हैपन बिकॉज ऑफ द टीचर स्टूडेंट रेशियो एंड ऑल दैट, बट वी डू इट ऑल्सो. बट व्हाई डोंट यू टेक द इनिशिएटिव? देयर आर व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप्स. There you can connect with the faculty in multiple ways. Same thing. So just because you have doing an MBA, then I should at least get this much of salary and basing your ROI on that is not a very great idea. The second thing, statistically, ROI or average placement comes from chapter number 1, statistics measures of central tendency, which means that if the average package of a college is say X, it automatically means if I choose any sample, his salary or his average package has to be in and around X. That is the central tendency.
Correct.
Right? But what is happening, if you actually look at the data, is that few students get extraordinarily high placements. That raises the average. And then the person says, average itna hai to itna to mujhe milega hi. But you have to look at the data. Nobody, the next time the student goes, I advise him what companies came, which companies came.
वो सब देखो, वो चेक करना पड़ेगा.
Job description देखो. उनका सिलेक्शन क्राइटेरिया क्या है देखो. उस कॉलेज का कोई स्टूडेंट डेफिनेटली वहां प्लेस्ड होगा, उससे बात करो, उसका एक्सपीरियंस शेयर करो और फिर डिसाइड करो कि सी इट्स सिंपल. वी आर नॉट सेंडिंग अ सैटेलाइट टू द मून. वी डोंट नीड huge amount of intelligence. We require huge amount of common sense and logic.
Correct.
So if you can do this exercise at the start, which companies are coming, what do they require, so what do I have to do in the next 2 years, so when they come finally, I'll be ready for them.
Correct.
Yeah, this is what it is. So, even with now that CMAT results are out and we are having this conversation, this is a good time to start spending. What students do, I have seen, because I've been in this management game for almost 17 years now. Going on the central route, try to cover maximum colleges. Not a good way. Cover 2 colleges per day. Whatever you zero down on, spend time. Then it will help.
Correct. अब मैंने आपको कॉलेज का लिस्ट दे दिया है अकॉर्डिंग टू द स्कोर्स. तो आपके जो भी आपकी रेंज में कॉलेज बैठ रहा है, एज पर योर स्कोर्स यू हैव गॉट, you should go and check out the colleges. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.